This lesson is going to be an introduction to functions. In order to tell if something is a function, you can look at 4 different aspects of it. One aspect of looking at something to determine if it's a function is looking at the table. When you look at a table, the x, if you remember from the vocabulary, is the input and the y is the output. You have to look that the x, or the input, does not appear more than once. And I'm going to add something to this. I'm going to say with a different output, because the x can repeat as many times as we want it to, but the output has to be the same thing. Like if we put in a 2, we have to get a 3 out every single time. So if I had a 2 here, again, as another one of my input values, I would have to have a 3 come out. If I had anything other than a 3 come out when I put in a 2, then that would not be a function. Another thing that you could look at is a mapping. A mapping is a diagram that connects each input in one circle to its corresponding output in the opposite circle. So this mapping that you're looking at is considered a function because each input only has one arrow coming out of it, meaning it only has one output. If there was another output in there and the arrow came from the 2 to that output as well as to the 3, it would not be a function, because when you put in a 2 in the input, you would get a 3 or the other output value. But the one that you are looking at here is a function because each input only has one arrow pointing to its corresponding output. The next thing you could look at is a graph. In order to tell if a graph is a function, you have to use something called the vertical line test. The vertical line test takes a line or a graph and it draws vertical lines anywhere on the grid. Remember, a vertical line is a line that goes straight up and down. So if you look at that red line only crosses that graph one time. There's nowhere I could draw a red line vertically and have it cross that black line more than once. No matter where I draw that red line, the graph is only going to be crossed once. So this would be a function. If I had a graph that looked something like this, and I drew a vertical line, this would not be a function because I have my graph is crossed there and there. So if it's crossed more than once, it is not considered a function. Then the last thing you could look at is a set of ordered pairs. A set of ordered pairs, very much so like the table, is a function only if the input or the x value does not repeat. And I'm going to put again with a different output. Remember, the x values are the inputs and the y values are the outputs, and our ordered pairs are written x, then y. So the first term in the ordered pair cannot repeat, and if it does, it can only repeat with the same output. So if I put in a 1 in this function as my input, I would expect a 2 to come out. If something other than a 2 came out, or if my y value was something other than a 2, when my x value was a 1, then it would not be considered a function.